Hey everybody, this here is a FireX model FX1014 smoke detector, and this one is an old one from the 80s. I'm not entirely sure when it's from, but I know it's an earlier model, so it's either from the very late 70s or the early 80s. Like I said, not really entirely sure on that, but it's a hardwired model, as you can tell, with the red LED and the wires coming out of it. And it's very similar to these models here that I have that you've seen before, the FXW-1, or sorry, no, this is the FX1020 and the FXW-1. And it is very similar, however, there's a difference. You can see that these have 3 wires coming out of them. They have this orange wire too, in addition to the black and the white. This one only has 2 wires. If I flip it over, it only has 2 wires coming out of it because there's no interconnect on this one. These 2 models have interconnect, which is the main difference between the FX1020 and the FXW-1, I believe, is the amount of units they are able to interconnect to. This one is not compatible with anything else. It's a single station smoke detector, as you can see right there. And it also, unlike these, does not have a wiring harness that plugs into the back. It instead just has regular pigtail wires that stick out of the back. And another notable difference is the color of the label. On the FX1020, and actually on most of the other ones that I've seen, it's red, like that, as you can see. On this one from my church, it's actually black, which is, I've also seen that on some other ones, and their battery-powered models typically have the red, but the older ones have black as well. This one, the label is green, which is very different, and this is something that I've only seen on, I think, FX1014 models. I've never seen an FX1020 or an FXW1 or W1A with the green text on the label. And you'll also notice this code right here, which is a date code. I'm assuming, I'm not entirely sure how to decipher this. That could be 1980, could be, yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. But it's issue number 10,317, which is older than this one, or earlier than that one. And I think if I can get the bracket off of this one. Yeah, it's older than that one too. But yeah, this one didn't come with a mounting bracket. Now I got this one actually from Jack Williamson, aka Kiara, who I've gotten several alarms from before, and they have another one of these, the same exact one. They got 2 of them in a lot, and they gave this one to me very graciously, so thank you for that. And you'll notice that there is another difference that I didn't point out, but you probably noticed at the beginning of the video. The test button. This one's test button is not the normal dome test button that kind of sits flush with the cover. This one's actually got the tiered test button. It's very similar to, I have one here, right here, BRK's tiered test button, but it's a lot smaller and it doesn't have, it's kind of like a shrunken version of BRK's. It's very interesting. It's really cool. I like it a lot. Very interesting design feature. And a difference between how this one works is that this one, on these, there's a tab that, or the test button's like, it's basically the same exact design as the BRK ones. Well, this one's actually a bad example because it's different, but most of the time it's the test button goes on top, like the tab extends out over the sensor, and when you push the button, you push it on top of the sensor. That's how these with the dome button work. And yeah, you can't see it very well down in there. But on this one, it's very different. Instead of the test button being attached to the base, it's actually attached to the cover, and it's spring-loaded, and it has a washer that keeps it attached to the cover. You can sort of see the washer down in there over the LED. Yeah, you can see it right there. And then there's 2 little spikes in there that it comes down, and it shorts over those 2 spikes that are on either side of the LED, which you cannot see at all. And that's how it tests the alarm. And that design is actually identical to that of the early guard models here, the EGD5B and the 5S. This is my 5B battery-powered model, but you can see the washer on that keeps the test button attached to the cover, spring-loaded, and then the two spikes right there that it contacts. The only difference here is there's a LED in the middle there for this one, and this one's hardwired, of course. But yeah, it's basically that same exact design. And if you remember from the video of that Sunbeam that I just got, this one with the test button, it's actually that same design as well. It has that washer and the two spikes. So, very interesting fact there. So now let's go ahead and give it a test. Now, if you remember from Nathaniel's video of his FXW-1, which has this same tiered test button, it doesn't really work too reliably, and it oftentimes it'll just not work at all. So let's see if I can get it to sound here. Maybe. Let's try that again. Sometimes if you turn the button, it'll work. Okay. I got it working. Trust me, it works. Yeah. It's bad. I love how it decides to not work now that I've got it on camera. Give me 1 second here. Alright, I think I got it working. There's an interesting way you have to push it. Okay, you gotta like push it in and then push it down. Very loud, and will definitely wake you up, as Jan always says. Of course, it's got the Kobishi CLB-26 vibratory type horn, the same as these two. And one thing I did forget to mention before I tested it is that button is a very similar design to this one. This is on the OG FXB, the FXB-1 with the CLB-27 squealer horn. And it's very similar to that lens, which is not a button, as we found out. The only difference is that has a little spike on it, which you can't see because the camera's not focusing. Okay, yeah, you can see it there. It has a little spike at the end of it. If you were to push that, it would hurt your finger, so they probably redesigned it so it wouldn't hurt your finger when you push it. So I'll try to test it again. Yeah, it's very temperamental. And this one, the LED does not go off when it goes into alarm. I'd love to find one where the LED goes out when it sounds. I think the later ones had that, though. But the confusion comes around when we try to figure out when this one is from, because there do exist 1014s that have dome buttons. There was a video of one on YouTube years and years and years ago with very low quality. It was actually 2 videos. One was showing it just like not powered, and the other they showed it powered and they tested it. And that one had a dome button, and I think the LED on that one went out when it was in alarm. But that was a very old video. It's now lost media, unfortunately. But yeah, so that is, I guess, just a brief history and overview of this FireX FX1014 smoke detector. It's a very cool one. Very happy to finally find one with the elusive tiered test button. So yeah, I think that just about sums it up for this video. The FireX FX1014 with the 1020 and the W1 and the FXB and the other ones here that I showed. Yeah. Alright, one more test for you. Alright, thank you for watching, and more to come.